Welcome to this explainer. It absolutely blows my mind, but nearly 70% of software projects fail or go wildly over budget simply because of poor planning. I'm thrilled you're here with us today because we're going to dive into the true engineering process behind building a modern website. Whether you're aiming to launch a corporate site, a massive e-commerce platform, or a complex software application, understanding this complete lifecycle is the absolute foundational blueprint for your success.
Many people believe that website development simply involves writing code, but in reality, it involves multiple stages. Let's bust this myth right out of the gate. It's so easy to think of web development as just a programmer furiously typing on a keyboard in a dark room and then uploading a few files to a server. But honestly, the truth is that this journey is far more structured, strategic, and disciplined than that.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We're going to explore 5 distinct phases. Blueprint, which covers planning and design. Construction, tackling the front end and back end. Quality control and testing. Deployment, where we actually go live. And finally, the long game, which is ongoing maintenance. Each of these steps solves a very specific business problem.
Starting off with Phase 1, Blueprint, Planning, and Design. The entire goal here? Preventing costly scope creep before any expensive development work even begins. Because every successful website starts with a crystal clear understanding of the business objectives. Before anyone touches a keyboard to write a single line of code, stakeholders have to lock in the foundation. What is the true purpose of this site? Who exactly are the target users? What specific problems are we actually solving? What features are absolutely required? And hey, what's our expected budget and timeline? Answering these questions creates a roadmap, ensuring everyone is marching toward the exact same goal.
Once those requirements are locked in, we move straight to UI and UX, user interface and user experience design. Now, designers aren't just in there picking pretty colors, they're translating business requirements into an actual visual blueprint. They create wireframes and visual elements to guarantee easy navigation, super fast user journeys, and accessibility compliance. This is absolutely crucial because good design here is what actually improves your conversion rates and overall customer satisfaction down the line.
All right, blueprints are approved. Let's transition to Phase 2, construction, front end and back end. This is where we take those designs and actually build the engine. Think of a modern web application kind of like a high-end restaurant. On one side, you have the front end. That's your beautifully decorated dining room, everything the user sees and interacts with. Developers use frameworks like React or Next.js to build those visual layouts and handle user interactions. But on the other side, you've got the back end. That's the bustling, hidden kitchen in the back, using Node.js or Python. That's where the heavy lifting happens. Data processing, user authentication, and security controls. They are completely different, but they function as two halves of the exact same brain.
But that back-end kitchen needs a memory. That brings us to database design. You're designing entity relationships, figuring out how a user relates to a product and how a product relates to an order. Depending on what you need, you might use a relational database like Postgres, or maybe a NoSQL option like MongoDB. A really critical step here is normalization. It's basically like organizing an incredibly messy filing cabinet so that no piece of information is ever duplicated, making it lightning fast to find what you need. And to keep all this complex front-end and back-end code from turning into total chaos, professional teams rely heavily on version control workflows, like GitHub or GitLab. Think of it like a digital tree where developers can safely branch off to experiment without killing the main plant. It lets them track code history, collaborate without stepping on each other's toes, and best of all, it sets the stage for automated deployments.
Speaking of things breaking, let's move right into Phase 3. Quality control and testing, or as I like to call it, intentionally trying to break the site before your users do.
A modern testing phase isn't just a quick visual glance, it's incredibly rigorous. You start small with unit testing for individual functions. Then you zoom out to integration testing to make sure different system components actually talk to each other correctly. System testing then validates the complete end-to-end workflows. And finally, user acceptance testing, or UAT, where end users step in to verify that the original business requirements were actually met. Teams are also running crucial security tests here to block vulnerabilities like SQL injection, where hackers try to sneak toxic code into login forms.
So, how do we get all this tested code out into the wild efficiently? The answer is the CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration and continuous deployment. This is a modern method to completely automate the deployment process. By doing this, teams achieve faster, way more reliable releases and significantly reduce the chance of human error.
It's literally an automated relay race. Step 1. A developer pushes their finished code. Step 2.
Automated tests run instantly. Step 3. If it passes, the build process executes. Step 4. A secure deployment package is generated. And finally, Step 5. Production deployment is automatically triggered. No manual interference, just a perfectly smooth, secure ride straight to production.
And that automated push brings us to Phase 4, deployment, going live. This is the exciting milestone where we make the application exist in the real world. Because to make a site live, it needs a home. For smaller sites, shared or VPS hosting might do the trick. But for maximum scalability, teams turn to cloud hosting platforms like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. But simply renting server space just isn't enough. A professional deployment requires critical infrastructure additions, SSL certificates for encryption, firewalls for protection, load balancers to handle traffic spikes, and robust backup systems to prevent data loss. It's the whole shebang.
The final tactical steps are a very specific sequence. You build the application, carefully configure sensitive environment variables, like private API keys that must be kept totally secure, deploy it to the cloud destination, configure the custom domain name, and install that SSL certificate to guarantee secure communication. Once that domain is live, you might think you're totally done, right? Well, welcome to Phase 5, the long game, maintenance. Deployment is just a milestone. It is absolutely not the finish line. Immediately post-deployment, continuous monitoring becomes essential. You have to monitor hardware performance like CPU and memory, and track specific application errors like API failures or database disconnects. To do this, professionals utilize tools like Datadog, New Relic, Grafana, or Sentry. Think of these tools like a 24/7 EKG machine for your website, catching irregular heartbeats and letting developers fix glitches before a user ever even notices.
Beyond just fixing errors, maintenance is an incredibly active process of continuous improvement. The digital landscape changes fast. A modern website requires regular security updates, ongoing bug fixes, and continuous performance optimization. And on top of that, you need routine technical SEO audits to make sure the website keeps speaking the exact language search engines want to hear.
So, let's zoom out for a second and put this all into perspective. Sequentially, you're looking at 1 to 2 weeks for planning, 2 to 3 weeks for design, 4 to 8 weeks for the heavy lifting of development, 1 to 2 weeks for testing, 1 to 3 days for the actual deployment, and then maintenance is, of course, ongoing. Realistically, a properly structured project takes between 8 to 16 weeks to execute correctly before you ever launch. Which leaves us with one final question for you. Are you ready to build for long-term digital success? I really hope we've busted that just coding myth for good today. Following a disciplined, multi-stage development lifecycle is the only proven way to consistently achieve better quality, stronger security, and incredible user experiences. It's not just about building a website, it's about engineering a truly resilient digital asset. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.